the Super Eagles of Nigeria are not going to the FIFA World Cup 2026. Will they still be at the World Cup? Well, there is still a slight chance because they have secured a playoff spot for the African playoffs. Welcome to today's video, guys. I'm here to recap the international break that was and everything concerning the Super Eagles during the international break. Well, as you may have heard, and as you may have seen, and as you may have watched, the Super Eagles managed to get into gear at the death, basically. They sort of left things too late, but they still kept their hopes alive with a 4-0 win over Benin that followed a 2-1 away win against Lesotho. And what does that mean right now? Well, that basically means that it's not over, but the road is much, much longer and harder if we are going to make it to USA, Canada, Mexico 2026. So let me quickly get into it as usual with my prompts here. I'm going to start with a quick post-match analysis of Lesotho versus Nigeria and Nigeria versus Benin. And let me just be honest here, I didn't watch the Lesotho game because I was not at home. But anyways, it was not a game I focused too much on anyways. I was just really focused on the result because at that time, as for me, and I believe a lot of other people, fans of the Nigerian football fans, I think that was a game that we just needed the results. You know, a lot of people still watch. But anyways, I didn't watch that game, so I can't really say much about that game. But we won 2-1, and I saw the highlights, and I still feel like we should have won. We should have beaten Lesotho a lot, especially because we managed to get over the line for the playoffs because we hammered Benin. And the fact that we're comfortably beating Lesotho and we conceded a goal late in the game against Lesotho that we shouldn't have conceded, was I still felt like we had not learned our lessons with the mistake we made again. We still didn't know how to secure our wins, and Stanley Wabali and the defender error at the back that led to the goal, and we almost even let the lead slip in the dying minutes, very close to the end of the game. Another error from the goalkeeper, drop ball, whatever. But luckily, we managed to secure the win. I think that we didn't learn our lessons, But I don't want to dwell on that game too much because the game that ultimately, has taken us to the playoffs is the game against Benin, which I would spend more time talking about. I'll still go back to the Lesotho game and talk about some things from that game. But for now, let's leave that aside as we got the result, so it's all behind us now. The match against Benin, I have to say, I was one of the people who thought that it was over for us because I didn't think that. First of all, I wasn't even sure we're going to beat Benin, and to beat Benin by 4 goals and not concede as well. I need you guys to understand something here. This was a direct opposite of our entire qualifying series. We scored 4 goals. We've not scored 3 goals we've not scored 3 goals ever, right? And the only time we had scored 2 goals before that match against Benin, the last game, was in one other game against Rwanda. Only once we scored 2 goals. The other games were 1-1 goal. So we clearly had a goal scoring problem, right? And that was partly due to the fact that Victor Osimhen, of course, missed about 4 games, the first 4 games. And let me just say this rightly. The defense did well. They stood out. A lot of times our defense had not done enough to secure wins for us, even though we didn't score a lot. But the defense did well in this game. They were solid. Not as many gimmicks from Stanley Wabali at the back because recently he has come under a lot of scrutiny, a lot of criticism, right? So yeah, but this was clearly a Victor Osimhen show. I don't want to reduce the performance of the team to a one-man show, But when you consider the fact that before Osimhen came into this, before Osimhen started to play in these World Cup qualifiers, we had not won any game. We had not scored more than one goal in a match. And every game where he played was where all of those things happened. Right. Every game, like almost every game he played, were all the games we won, and all the games, the game we scored more, at least two or more goals. The first game was he was the one who scored the two goals, and then the game against Benin was the hat trick. So in that game there was so much confusion while we're watching the game. Oh, are we into the playoff spot now? And then I heard that Uganda was also in the playoff spot, and Uganda was leading, and Uganda had to drop points. And I was switching between the Uganda and Algeria game, and then I checked the Uganda game, and I saw that Algeria got the penalty, Algeria equalized, and I was like, okay, that's it for us. And then I heard again that Congo, bro, it was just so much stuff. That Congo was going to play later in the day, and if we needed to beat Congo, that time it was like 3-0, we had to score one more goal. I was like, 3-0 is not enough. See how much trouble we've gotten ourselves into, that 3-0 is not enough. And then, okay, I was not thinking about that Lesotho game, that if we had won that game 2-0, and then, okay, I was not like, okay, let's see. See that I'll have to wait till 10 o'clock when the Congo game is over. I'm like, bruh. And then late in the game, Franco Eka scored a brilliant goal. And then I think that kind of confirmed that we're going into the playoffs. So, yeah. That aside, like I said, this was the one-man show. Let's not. This was the one-man show. This was Victor Osimhen practically taking the game by the scruff of his neck and saying that I don't know what will happen in the playoffs, but as long as there's still a slight chance, I am not letting it go. We did not make the World Cup in 2022. I was on that pitch, and I felt disappointed. And even though in this qualifying round, I felt like some of my teammates have let me down, but today, I do not care what they do. I'm taking us to the playoffs and still giving us a fighting chance. That's basically what he did, And I've seen this so many times at club level, at national football level, where just one player of the team, maybe the star man, just decides that we're not getting knocked out today. We are not getting eliminated today. And that's basically what just happened. Victor Osimhen just decided that this is not the day we leave this stage. And, he came up with a brilliant hat-trick, 2 headers and one fantastic finish with his right foot with the first goal. Brilliant couple of assists by Samuel Chukwueze as well, who has also come under scrutiny lately, but he actually delivered and rolled back the glory days of the both of them being in the under 17 10 years ago, which is also really a beautiful story, by the way. So, let me go to the next one. The question is, are we going to the World Cup? And the answer is, people will call me a hypocrite because this might be a little bit of a similar situation with the Super Falcons, if you will. But the Super Falcons and the Super Eagles are very, very different teams because in similar manner, I didn't think the Super Falcons would win WAFCON, but that was for different reasons, not for their ability. I would never question their ability or their talent. I could do that for the Super Eagles, maybe outside of Victor Osimhen, because that guy I'm looking at is a world-class striker, but I would never question. The reason why I thought the Super Falcons was not going to win WAFCON was more for off-the-pitch issues and administrative issues that I felt were bothering them too much. As for the Super Eagles, it's more of questioning whether they really want it, especially because this is a team that is about to miss out on back-to-back World Cup tournaments. So I felt like if you had missed out on the previous World Cup tournament, and then you're playing qualifiers for a World Cup in a group where you had Lesotho and Zimbabwe, and you can't beat Lesotho and Zimbabwe at home, then do you really want to go to the World Cup? Like, it just makes me think about it. Like, what more could be the motivation for you? Like, anyways, and a couple of those players in the starting lineup were in that squad that lost to Ghana in the playoffs in 2022 for the World Cup. So if those players do not want to erase that defeat of against Ghana for 3 years ago, there's no optimism from the fans that could really make them go the extra mile to get to the World Cup. So I think that's partly why we find ourselves where we are. But to answer the question, Um, let me take a quick water break. So, are we going to the World Cup? What happened? So, let me just say how the playoffs will take place. This is what is going to happen in the playoffs. Now, there will be a mini tournament, a one-off tournament on a neutral ground in Morocco, where I think that consists of Nigeria, Gabon, Cameroon, and I think Burkina Faso, if I'm correct. I don't know. And then there will be so the way it will work is that the top ranked team will play the lowest ranked team, and then the highest ranked team, according to the FIFA ranking, will play the lowest ranked team, and then the second will play the third. That's basically how it's going to work. So we are going to play Gabon as it stands, and then Cameroon is going to play, I can't remember, maybe Burkina Faso, and then the winners of the two semi-finals will play themselves in the final, and then get that African playoff spot to go and play in the intercontinental playoff spot. So it's not an automatic qualification to the World Cup. And then in the intercontinental playoffs, you will now meet countries who have gotten their playoff spots from their respective confederations. That's the OFC, the AFC, the CONCACAF, CONMEBOL, except from UEFA. UEFA's playoffs will be inside Europe, I assume. And then there will be 6 teams. They'll be divided into two places, and then the lowest ranked teams will play each other in the first round, while the highest ranked teams go straight to the final. So there will be in this particular playoffs, there's only 2 slots to the World Cup up for grabs. So now there will be 2 finals, and the countries who win the 2 finals go straight to the World Cup. If you understood what I said, congratulations to you, but I've said a lot. But you get my drift. So you can see that it's a long road. It's a really long road. We first have to get past 2 matches in Africa. 2 matches. And it is a lot, because I look back now at the Lesotho draw, the Zimbabwe draw, and I'm like, even the funny thing about it is that if we had beaten Zimbabwe and Lesotho at home, that's an extra 4 points, right? Even if South Africa had gotten deducted 3 points, and even if South Africa had not gotten deducted 3 points, we would have still topped that Group C. That's how crazy it is that we drop points against Lesotho, and Zimbabwe, who ended up finishing far last, So as it is now, there's still hope, but it is the hope that kills sometimes, because I don't know, yeah, of course, I still want us to be part of it, fight as long as there's a slight chance, but this is a very daunting task, because, we have to play in Morocco, and then the intercontinental playoffs is going to take place in one of the host countries for the World Cup. So FIFA is going to decide that. So the continental playoff for Africa, we are going to play Gabon in November, right? That's next month. So that is going to be the first step, and then if we win, we play another match in the same November. So 2 matches in November. We can just take that as preparation for AFCON, by the way, that starting in December. And then in March, if we get past that stage, in March, we are going to go all the way to either Mexico, USA, or Canada to participate in that intercontinental playoff to potentially get one of the last 2 slots for the World Cup. So it's a really long road. And are we going to the World Cup? Well, for some reason, I'm more optimistic now, because I've ruled us out a long time ago. I think as at the time we drew Zimbabwe at home in March was when I just zeroed my mind that these guys are not serious. But, there's something about people who are at their lowest and they just resurrect, and they just come from the deep, and they just say, okay, we are going to keep going. I think that the disappointment of not getting the automatic slots should motivate them. Again, like I said earlier, there's no motivation. I feel like the fans, or that the players can draw from the fans, or people say, oh, the stadiums are not loud enough and all of that stuff. There's no motivation you can give this set of players that I'm looking at, more than the fact that, okay, Nigeria has not gone to the last World Cup. You guys want to do, and going to the World Cup is far more for the players and their legacy than for the fans. Yes, it's good for the fans want to see Nigeria at the World Cup, but at the end of the day, who are the players that are going to play at the World Cup? It's the player. Who are the people that are going to play at the World Cup? It's the players. So if they don't want it as bad, you can't blame the fans for. You can't question the fans for their support at all. That's just how I see it. So it's a long road, but I think we can. I mean, we are out of the teams that I think have qualified right now. I think we are the highest ranked. So again, if it's on paper, we should get that. We should get through the African playoffs and get to the intercontinental playoffs. But this is a team that drew Lesotho and Zimbabwe at home. So going by that, I can't really say. But yeah, we should go to the World Cup. Like, bruh, yeah, we should. As long as there's a chance, we should. And we should take lessons from the fact that we weren't able to get that automatic slot in the group that has Lesotho and Zimbabwe. So yeah, that's just it. And next prompt is to rate Eric Chell's time with the Super Eagles in the 6 World Cup qualifiers so far. So Eric Chell came into the Super Eagles setup after the first 4 games where we had not won any game. We had lost 1 game and we had just 3 points, I think. Yeah, 3 draws, 1 loss. So I can't exactly say he has turned things around, but I think that he has, at least in the list, he has steadied the ship, because the situation was very, very dark. It was very, very ugly, but he has at least steadied the ship. And of course, the Unity Cup win, which was, by the way, a friendly tournament win that happened in June in between a couple of qualifiers, helped with the chemistry of the team and all of that. But when it got back to serious business, it was still not as convincing until very late, But I really can't judge because, again, I see this team being carried literally by Victor Osimhen a lot. And I really can't say, I still can't really, I think maybe to AFCON, I will be able to really say what Eric Chell, because I think for me, I have to judge coaches based on different situations. A qualifying situation and a tournament situation, they are very, very different. So I think in this qualifying round, it's just basically get the win. Like I said in my last video, tactics at this point, yeah, they matter, but you win. Any coach will take a win any day, regardless of how they win. So I can't really judge, but I have to say, yeah, maybe good job for at least steadying the ship, because we don't even know if we had continued with the previous managers, if we would have even gotten these playoffs. But even though we got it just by the skin of our teeth, it was very, very tight. And on the final day, some countries that are gotten this automatic, these playoff spots, by the way, I'd already known they would get it, I think, by the last international break. So we didn't know until the final day, which is also, So yeah, it was. Yeah, I would say maybe let me just quantify it by numbers. I would say maybe at least a 5/10. Let me say a 6/10. Yeah, let me say a 6. I think it's definitely increased if we qualify, but between a 5 and 6, I would say 5.5. Let me just say a 5.5/10. Because he has stuck with his 4-4-2. He's looking like Ruben Amorim. He doesn't change his formation, But yeah, I think, okay, this is something I've missed out on saying. I think that our midfield there's been lapses in the midfield in a couple of games. So yeah, I think that's something that has always been recurrent. So he needs to fix that. The fact that we play 4-4-2 doesn't mean that the midfield, because the 2 of the 4 are kind of usually wingers. So, but he needs to fix that midfield issue. There's always lapses, he needs to fix it. I don't know, maybe with time you find solutions, but he needs to fix it. Victor Osimhen can't do the whole work. We need to create more. Victor Osimhen is literally sometimes just forcing out goals from nothing. So he needs to fix it, fix the midfield. The midfield needs to be more creative under Eric Chell's time. Yeah, so the next thing I want to talk about is the standout players in the matches against Lesotho and Benin. And I wouldn't say the obvious name yet, but the first name I would say is Benjamin Frederick yet again. Benjamin Frederick has come into this team and has literally just said, I don't care who has been starting before me. I don't care if I'm 20 years old. I'm here and I'm here to stay. And that's basically what has happened. Benjamin Frederick has been brilliant, ball playing, interceptions, everything. He's there. and he just, I don't know, like he's such a breath of fresh air. Um, yeah, so Benjamin Ferreira stood out and he's playing full 90 minutes. You can't keep that kind of player on the bench. He's a breath of fresh air even in the midst of the bad performances so far. So Benjamin Frederick, there's not too much to say about him. If you watch the game, you know why he's a standout player. And I think for me, Akko Adams, who scored against Lesotho on his debut, that goal was very, very important. That goal was the goal that sort of took the game away from Lesotho, even though we almost lost the lead in the dying minutes, but that goal took the game away from Lesotho and put us in contention for the playoff spot. So that was good. It was a brilliant finish, by the way. I don't think a lot of people expected him to score from that angle he scored. So yeah, Akko Adams as well. And then the obvious one, Victor Osimhen hat-trick, and assist against Lesotho for the goal Akko Adams scored, then hat-trick against Benin. I've already lauded Victor Osimhen for his effort. There's not much left to say. He has a world-class striker that we have on our hands. So, that's just, there's not much to say about Victor Osimhen. He's exceptional. Yeah. So, what next for the Super Eagles? I have actually touched on this in my earlier prompts. So, like I said, what is going to happen next is that in November, we are going to play, we and 3 other teams will go to Morocco. 3 other African teams will go to Morocco to play a mini tournament where one team will come out as winners and then proceed to the intercontinental playoffs. And that mini tournament, we are going to play Gabon first. And then if we get through Gabon, we'll play a final where if we win, we get the playoff spots representing Africa to go to the intercontinental playoffs, where there will be teams from Asia, Oceania, South America, and North America. And then there will be 6 teams there. They'll be divided into 2 areas, 3 each. And then the lowest ranked teams will play the first round. The highest ranked teams go straight to the final. And then they will play the winners of that first round. And then the winners, there will be 2 finals. And then the winners of those 2 finals will go to the World Cup, basically. So that's a more simplified version of what I said earlier. So yeah, we are going to play at least 3 games to get to the World Cup. It's a long road, guys. It's going to be a long road. We're going to play in Africa, and if we get past Africa, we're going to play in North America before the actual World Cup in North America. So it's a long road, but as long as there's a fighting chance, the boys need to put in everything to secure Nigeria's spot at the World Cup. And then, yeah, let's just see, the African playoffs start in November, and it all starts against Gabon and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who, by the way, is in really good form for Gabon. In one of their last games, in the last game he played, he scored 4 goals. So we need to look out for that guy. Our defense needs to improve. We need to get better. I can't say Victor Osimhen should keep firing, because he will definitely keep firing. He just needs to stay fit. That's all we ask. The midfield needs to improve. Because on the day that Victor Osimhen cannot force chances for himself, we need to create those chances for him. And on the day we can't score 4 goals because we don't know how to score, that was a very rare scoreline, by the way. On the day we don't score 4 goals, that's going to be very possible in this playoff. We'll probably not score as much. The defense needs to improve. So yeah, that's why I bring today's video to a close, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to all my subscribers. Please share this video to all football fans, all sports fans if you enjoyed. And if you have any comments on everything I've said, if you disagree with certain things, let me know. If you want to fact check me, let me know in my comments. I appreciate your comments. Please share the video, like, subscribe, and until I see you in my next video, which is going to be soon, by the way. Probably not November, but real soon. It's bye for now, guys.